The Memphis sun beat down like a giant golden hammer, pounding the sidewalks until they shimmered with heat. It was a kind of summer day that made the air feel thick, like you could almost drink it. For 7-year-old Lily Mae Jenkins, though the heat was just a small hurdle, a dragon to be slayed on the quest for ultimate happiness. Ice cream. Lily clutched her mother's hand, her small fingers sticky with a mixture of sweat and impatient excitement. Her bright blue sundress, usually so crisp, was already a bit rumpled, but she didn't care. Her eyes were fixed on the colorful awning of Mrs. Higgins Sweet Treats, a little parlor nestled just off Beale Street. The sign, painted with a whimsical swirl of ice cream cones and cherries, promised sugary delights that Lily had been dreaming about all week. "Are we almost there, Mama?" she asked, her voice a little breathless from the quick pace her mother was setting. Eleanor Jenkins, a kind woman with a tired but loving smile, squeezed her daughter's hand. "Just a few more steps, sweet pea, and then you can pick any flavor your heart desires." Lily bounced on the balls of her feet. "Double scoop with sprinkles," Eleanor chuckled. "If you're good." Lily instantly straightened her posture, trying to look as angelic as possible. She imagined the cool, creamy sensation of the ice cream melting on her tongue, the burst of sweetness, the tiny crunch of the sprinkles. She'd been good all week, helping her mama with chores, practicing her letters, even enduring a visit to Aunt Mildred's without a single complaint. She deserved this. She truly, truly did. As they got closer, the faint, wonderful smell of waffle cones and sugar reached them, making Lily's stomach rumble with anticipation. Parlor was a small, charming place with big windows that showed families and couples laughing inside, their faces lit up with pure joy. A group of teenagers were leaning against a shiny, cherry-red convertible parked on the street, their hair slicked back, their laughter echoing slightly. They were talking loudly about a concert, something about a king. Lily didn't pay much attention. Her kingdom was inside Mrs. Higgins's. Inside, the parlor was a cool, sweet haven. The air conditioning hummed, and the bright, cheerful decor made Lily feel like she'd stepped into a candy box. She instantly let go of her mother's hand and darted towards the long, gleaming glass counter, pressing her nose against it to get a better look at the rainbow of flavors. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, mint chip, butter pecan, cherry Garcia. So many choices. Her eyes darted from one colorful tub to another, each one more tempting than the last. How could she possibly choose? This was a decision of monumental importance. "Now remember what we talked about," Eleanor said, joining her. "1 scoop or 2 small ones?" Lily nodded vigorously, still mesmerized. "I know, Mama." After much serious consideration, she pointed a tiny finger at a tub stilled with pale pink ice cream studded with bits of fruit. "Strawberry swirl and vanilla? Can I have vanilla too?" Mrs. Higgins herself, a stout, friendly woman with flour dusting her apron and a ready smile, leaned over the counter. "Excellent choices, little lady. That's our special fresh strawberry made with berries from Mr. Henderson's farm, and our vanilla is pure Madagascar bean." Lily beamed. This was it, the moment of truth. She watched captivated as Mrs. Higgins scooped a generous portion of vanilla into a sugar cone, then added a perfect swirl of the strawberry. It looked like a delicious pastel cloud. "Sprinkles?" "Oh yes, please," Lily practically squealed. Mrs. Higgins shook a shower of rainbow sprinkles over the top, making the ice cream cone sparkle like a tiny jewel. Lily's heart pounded with delight. It was perfect. More than perfect. It was the most beautiful, delicious thing she had ever seen. Eleanor paid, and Lily took the cone, carefully holding it with both hands as if it were spun glass. The coldness seeped through the cone, a delightful shock against her palms. She took a deep breath, inhaling the sweet, creamy scent. "Let's find a bench outside, sweet pea," Eleanor suggested. "It's too crowded in here," Lily nodded, already halfway to the door. She took her first lick, a glorious, blissful taste of strawberry and vanilla, cold and sweet, melting on her tongue. Her eyes fluttered shut in pure happiness. This was what summer was all about. This was joy. She walked carefully, trying to savor every lick, every moment. The sun was still blazing, but the ice cream was a cool, refreshing counterpoint. She was so focused on her perfect treat, so lost in her delicious world, that she didn't notice the sleek black Cadillac pulling up to the curb just ahead. Nor did she notice the tall figure stepping out of its back seat, framed by the bright sunlight, and the small cluster of people already starting to gather. Her world was just her ice cream, and the perfect summer day. And then, in one terrible, heartbreaking instant, it wasn't. A small pebble, or maybe just a clumsy step, caught her foot. Her balance wavered. Her hands, still wrapped around the precious cone, instinctively tried to steady herself. But it was too late. The world tilted. The cone slipped, and in slow motion it seemed the beautiful, rainbow-sprinkled double scoop of strawberry swirl and vanilla ice cream plunged headfirst towards the scorching pavement. A tiny choked gasp escaped her lips. Her eyes, wide with disbelief and horror, watched as it hit the ground with a soft, squishy splat, transforming from a glorious tower of sweetness into a sad, melted puddle, streaks of pink and white mixing with the gray asphalt. The sprinkles lay scattered like forgotten jewels. Her lower lip began to tremble. The heat, the crowds, the perfect summer day, all of it faded away. There was only the ruined ice cream and the overwhelming, crushing weight of her own disappointment. Tears welled up in her eyes. Big, hot tears that blurred her vision. She sniffled once, then again, a tiny sound of absolute heartbreak. And then, from somewhere above her, a deep, gentle voice spoke, a voice that sounded like warm molasses mixed with a low hum. "Well now," the voice said, soft and kind, "that's a mighty sad sight, isn't it, little darling?" Lily, still frozen in her misery, slowly lifted her tear-filled eyes. Standing over her, casting a long shadow that suddenly offered a sliver of shade. He had dark, perfectly coiffed hair, sideburns that framed a handsome face, and eyes the color of the clear blue sky. He was wearing a fancy suit, a little open at the collar, and he had a smile that was both gentle and a little bit sad, like he understood exactly how much a dropped ice cream cone could hurt. He was the king. She recognized him from the whispers, from the pictures in the newspapers her daddy read. Elvis Presley. And he was looking right at her, his expression full of something she couldn't quite name, but that felt a lot like understanding. Her bottom lip quivered even more. A single tear escaped and traced a hot path down her cheek. All she could do was nod. A small, shaking motion. It was indeed a mighty sad sight. The silence, stretched broken only by the distant rumble of a passing bus and the growing murmur of the crowd now starting to notice the scene unfolding. Lily stood perfectly still, her ruined ice cream a sticky, colorful stain at her feet. Her little heart felt like it was shrinking inside her chest, squeezed tight by disappointment and a sudden, overwhelming shyness. She was standing in front of Elvis Presley, the man everyone talked about, the man whose songs flowed from every radio, and all she could do was cry over a dropped ice cream. Eleanor, who had been a step or two behind Lily, quickly came forward, her face a mixture of concern for her daughter and surprise at the famous stranger. "Oh, Lilybug, honey, are you all right?" she asked, kneeling down to Lily's level, her eyes going from the fallen treat to the famous singer. "I'm so sorry, sir. My daughter can be a bit clumsy." Elvis Presley, however, didn't seem to notice Lily's mother at first. His gaze was entirely focused on Lily. His blue eyes, which she'd only seen in grainy newspaper photos before, were startlingly bright and kind. He slowly bent down, not quite kneeling, but lowering himself enough, so that he wasn't towering over her so much. His dark hair, usually so perfect, seemed to catch the sunlight, giving him an almost glowing quality. "Clumsy," he echoed, his voice a low, melodic rumble, like a purring cat. "Now I wouldn't say that, darling. Looks more like a tragedy to me. A real honest-to-goodness ice cream tragedy." Lily sniffled, a tiny hiccup escaping her. He wasn't laughing at her. He didn't seem annoyed. He looked sympathetic. Genuinely sympathetic. "It was strawberry swirl," she whispered, her voice barely audible. And vanilla with sprinkles. Elvis nodded slowly as if she were revealing a deep, important secret. Strawberry, swirl, and vanilla, he repeated, his voice solemn. A classic combination, and sprinkles, of course. Can't forget the sprinkles. They add that touch of magic, don't they? Lily nodded again, a fresh wave of tears threatening to spill. He understood, he really did. Look at that fella, Elvis continued, pointing a long, elegant finger at the puddle on the ground. He just gave up the ghost right there. Never even had a chance to properly melt in the sunshine. Eleanor, still kneeling, gently touched Lily's arm. We can get you another one, sweet pea, she said, trying to soothe her daughter. It's just ice cream. But Elvis gently shook his head, his gaze still fixed on Lily. Now hold on there, ma'am, he said to Eleanor, his voice still soft but with a hint of conviction. It's never just ice cream when you're 7 years old, and it's the hottest day of the summer. That, right there, he gestured to the melted puddle, was a promise of pure, unadulterated joy. He looked back at Lily, his smile deepening, crinkling the corners of his eyes. Tell me, darling, do you think that ice cream fella had a good life before he met his untimely end? Lily blinked. She hadn't thought about the ice cream having a life. It was just ice cream. But his question made her pause. She looked at the colorful puddle. It was very good, she admitted, remembering the first glorious lick. The best. See there, Elvis said, turning his gaze slightly towards Eleanor, a knowing look on his face. He lived a full, albeit brief, life, but that doesn't mean his sudden departure isn't cause for mourning, or perhaps for a proper replacement. He stood up straight, his presence suddenly commanding yet still gentle. He looked past Lily and Eleanor towards the entrance of Mrs. Higgins' parlor. The teenagers by the car were now staring, whispering excitedly. A few more people had stopped on the sidewalk, their eyes wide with recognition. Tell you what, young lady, Elvis said, his voice a little louder now, but still directed solely at Lily. I happen to know a fine establishment just steps away that specializes in resurrecting fallen heroes, and I believe they might have a replacement. Perhaps even a better one. Just waiting for a brave soul like yourself. Lily's eyes widened a better. Could there be anything better than her lost strawberry swirl and vanilla? I'd be honored, Elvis continued, extending a hand towards her, palm up, in a gesture that was both formal and incredibly warm, if you'd allow me to escort you. My name's Elvis, by the way. What's yours, darlin'? Her mother, recovering from her shock, gave her a gentle nudge. Go on, Lilybug, tell Mr. Presley your name. Lily finally found her voice, a tiny whisper. Lily Mae, Elvis repeated, his smile lighting up his face. What a beautiful name for a beautiful young lady. He still held out his hand. Shall we, Lily Mae? I hear they're serving up dreams inside. Lily looked at her mother, who gave her an encouraging nod. Then slowly, shyly, she placed her small, sticky hand into Elvis's much larger, worn one. His grip was surprisingly gentle yet firm, making her feel safe and strangely important. As he led her towards the entrance of Mrs. Higgins, a hush fell over the small gathering crowd. Whispers of, "It's Elvis," rippled through the air. But Elvis didn't seem to notice them. His eyes were still on Lily, his expression one of calm, gentle focus. He was not the king of rock and roll right then. He was just a kind stranger, offering comfort and a sweet solution to a little girl's big problem. And as he opened the door to the ice cream parlor for her, a small, hopeful smile began to form on Lily's face, chasing away the last lingering shadows of her ice cream tragedy. As Elvis led Lily Mae towards the ice cream parlor door, a palpable buzz rippled through the small crowd that had gathered. Fonts weren't common back then, but cameras certainly were, and several flashes popped as people tried to capture the Elvis Presley, the biggest star in the world, holding the hand of a tear-streaked little girl. But Elvis, true to his nature, seemed completely oblivious to the attention. His focus remained entirely on Lily. He pulled open the heavy glass door of Mrs. Higgins' Sweet Treats with a polite flourish, letting the cool, sweet air spill out onto the hot sidewalk. "After you, my lady," he said, his voice a soft murmur, meant just for her. Lily, still a little stunned, stepped inside. The immediate quiet that fell over the parlor was almost comical. Everyone inside, from the couple sharing a banana split to the teenagers giggling over milkshakes, froze. Spoons clattered onto tables. Conversations died mid-sentence, and every single eye in the room swiveled towards the doorway, towards Elvis, and the small hand nestled in his. Mrs. Higgins, who had been wiping down the counter, dropped her rag onto the floor with a soft thud. Her mouth, usually curved in a friendly smile, was now wide open in disbelief. Eleanor, Lily's mother, followed them in her face. Still a mix of astonishment and a faint touch of worry. She was grateful for Elvis's kindness, but also overwhelmed by the sudden spotlight. Elvis, however, walked in as if it were the most natural thing in the world for him to be entering an ice cream parlor with a little girl who had just dropped her cone. He didn't stride in like a celebrity demanding attention. He walked with a casual, easy grace, his shoulders relaxed. He gently guided Lily towards the counter. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Higgins," he said, his famous smile finally gracing his lips, a polite, charming grin that could melt butter. Or, in this case, certainly put a flustered ice cream parlor owner at ease. "I believe we have a rather urgent situation here that requires your expert attention," Mrs. Higgins, stammering, finally found her voice. "Mr. Presley, oh my goodness, what an honor. What can I do for you?" She fumbled for a clean rag, her cheeks flushing. Elvis gently squeezed Lily's hand. "Well, Mrs. Higgins, this lovely young lady here, Lily Mae, just suffered a most unfortunate incident with a perfectly good scoop of strawberry swirl and vanilla." He paused, looking down at Lily. Lily nodded shyly, her eyes still a little watery, but now wide with a mixture of awe and dawning hope. "Crying shame it was," Elvis continued, looking back at Mrs. Higgins with a mock-serious expression. "Left a perfectly good puddle right there on your fine sidewalk. Now, I told Lily Mae that I was sure you, being the purveyor of such exquisite delights, would be able to rectify this grave injustice." Mrs. Higgins, still reeling from the surprise visit, managed a shaky smile. "Oh, absolutely, Mr. Presley, anything at all. For Lily Mae, of course." She looked at Lily with newfound sympathy. "Poor dear, that's just awful. Don't you worry, sweetie. We'll fix you right up." "Splendid," Elvis said, his smile broadening. He released Lily's hand, placing a gentle hand on her back instead. "So, Lily Mae, the world is your oyster. Or, rather, the ice cream counter is your oyster. What shall it be this time? We're rebuilding a dream, remember?" Lily looked up at him. She was still a little overwhelmed by the attention from everyone in the parlor, but Elvis's steady presence, his warm hand on her back, made her feel safe. She glanced at the counter, then back at him. "Strawberry swirl and vanilla," she whispered. Unsure if it was too much to ask for the exact same lost perfection, Elvis nodded approvingly. "An excellent choice. Stick with what you know. Especially when it's clearly the best. Mrs. Higgins, would you be so kind as to craft us another masterpiece?" "Right away, Mr. Presley," Mrs. Higgins chirped, already grabbing a fresh waffle cone. She worked quickly, scooping the vanilla and strawberry swirl with practiced ease. Lily watched, mesmerized again as the tower of ice cream took shape. "And sprinkles, of course," Elvis added almost as an afterthought, but Lily knew he hadn't forgotten. Caught her eye and gave her a small conspiratorial wink. Lily reached out her hands, then hesitated. She remembered the last time Elvis seemed to read her mind. "Tell you what, Lily Mae," he said, his voice dropping slightly. "Let's find us a nice cozy booth that way. You can enjoy your treat without any unforeseen incidents." He glanced playfully at her, referring to her earlier tumble. He took the cone from Mrs. Higgins first, then carefully placed it in Lily's outstretched hands, making sure her grip was secure. His fingers, long and strong, briefly brushed hers, sending a small tingle through her. "Thank you, Mr. Presley," Lily said, her voice a little stronger this time, filled with genuine gratitude. "You are most welcome, Lily Mae," he replied, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He then looked at Eleanor. "Ma'am, would you care to join us?" Eleanor, who had been standing a respectful distance away, unsure how to react, blinked. "Oh, Mr. Presley, you're too kind. We wouldn't want to impose." "Nonsense," Elvis said with a wave of his hand. "A lady needs her companion for an ice cream adventure. Besides," he lowered his voice playfully, "I might need someone to keep this little one from getting too carried away." He winked at Lily again, who giggled, a tiny joyful sound that brought a real smile to Eleanor's face. He gestured towards a booth by the window, surprisingly unoccupied despite the crowd. As he led Lily and her mother towards it, the whispers in the parlor intensified. Everyone was watching, captivated by the unexpected scene. But for Lily, the world had narrowed down to just her new perfect ice cream, and the kind, charming man who had made it all happen. This wasn't just ice cream. It was a magical rescue, personally overseen by a king. The booth Elvis led them to was tucked away in a corner, offering a slight sense of privacy despite the curious glances of everyone else in Mrs. Higgins's. It was a classic diner-style booth with shiny red Pimo seats and a gleaming Formica table. Lily carefully slid onto the seat, holding her new ice cream cone, like it was the most precious jewel in the world. She still couldn't quite believe this was happening. Elvis slid in opposite her, his long legs stretching out comfortably. Eleanor, still slightly overwhelmed but deeply appreciative, sat beside Lily. "Now," Elvis said, his voice settling into a relaxed conversational tone, "this looks much safer, wouldn't you agree, Lily Mae? No more rogue pebbles or slippery sidewalks to worry about." Lily nodded, taking a tentative lick of her ice cream. It was even better than the first one. Maybe it was the sprinkles, or maybe it was just knowing that Elvis Presley himself had rescued it. "Much safer," she whispered, her eyes fixed on him. He chuckled, a low, pleasant sound. "Good. We can't have any more tragedies today. One's quite enough for an afternoon, don't you think?" He leaned back against the red mime, looking remarkably at ease, as if he were simply having a casual chat with old friends rather than being watched by every single person in the ice cream parlor. He seemed completely unfazed by the stares, the hushed whispers, and the occasional click of a camera flash from outside the window. "So, Lily Mae," he began, his voice warm and inviting, "what's your favorite thing about ice cream?" Lily paused, considering the question deeply. She took another lick, letting the sweet coldness melt on her tongue. "The sprinkles," she decided finally, looking at the colorful dots on her cone. "They make it shiny." Elvis nodded sagely. "Ah, the sprinkles. An excellent choice. They're like little bits of magic, aren't they? They just make everything a little bit brighter." He leaned forward slightly, his blue eyes twinkling. "You know, when I was a boy, I used to think the sprinkles were tiny secret wishes. You'd eat them, and then your wish would come true." "Well now," he drawled, a playful smirk on his face, "no one ever proved they weren't so." "It's always worth a try, don't you think?" Lily giggled. She took a big lick, trying to make sure she got as many sprinkles as possible. She didn't know what to wish for, but the idea itself made her ice cream taste even sweeter. Eleanor, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke up. "Mr. Presley, we really can't thank you enough. You're so kind. Lily's been looking forward to this all week. Please, ma'am, call me Elvis," he said, turning his charming smile on Eleanor. "And there's no need for thanks. A little kindness goes a long way, especially when it involves a lost treasure like this." He gestured to Lily's cone. "Besides," he added with a wistful look in his eyes, "it's not every day I get to be the hero in an ice cream rescue mission." It's a nice change of pace." He looked at Lily again, who was diligently working on her cone, her face smeared with a little pink ice cream. "Are you from around here, Lily Mae?" "Yes, sir," Lily mumbled, nodding. "We live just a few blocks away. My daddy works at the mill." "The mill, huh?" Elvis mused. "Hard work, I bet. You know my daddy worked hard, too, for many years. There's an honest dignity in it." He paused, a faraway look in his eyes, for a moment, as if remembering his own childhood. "So, you came for ice cream on a hot day," he continued, bringing his attention back to Lily. "Smart move. What else do you do for fun around here? Do you play in the park? Read stories?" Lily, encouraged by his easy conversation, found herself opening up. "I like to draw," she said, her voice gaining a little confidence. "And I like to read the funny papers with Daddy on Sundays, and sometimes Mama lets me help her bake cookies." "Draw, huh?" Elvis's eyebrows raised. "Nanimals," Lily replied promptly. "And flowers, and sometimes I try to draw people, but they always look a bit funny." She giggled again. "Funny can be good," Elvis said with a smile. "Sometimes the funniest drawings are the best. They tell a real story, you know." He leaned back again, observing her with genuine interest. He wasn't just making polite conversation. He seemed truly curious, truly engaged. Lily finished her last lick, leaving only the crispy cone. She looked up at Elvis, her face still bright with happiness. "It was the best ice cream ever," she declared. "Not just because it tasted good, but because of the incredible adventure that came with it." Elvis grinned. "I'm glad to hear it, Lily Mae. Every ice cream should be the best ice cream ever. It's a fundamental right, I believe." He then looked at Eleanor. "Ma'am, is there anything else I can do? Or perhaps, could I offer you a little something to cool off as well? A milkshake, perhaps?" Eleanor gently shook her head. "No, really, Mr. Presley, you've done more than enough. You've truly made Lily's day and mine, too. We wouldn't want to take up any more of your valuable time." She glanced towards the window where the crowd outside had grown even larger, pressing their faces against the glass, hoping for a glimpse of the king. Elvis followed her gaze, a fleeting shadow crossing his eyes, a brief flicker of something weary. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by his charming smile. "Time spent making someone happy is never wasted, ma'am," he said, his voice soft but firm. "Especially not when it's for a little ray of sunshine like Lily Mae." Glanced at his watch, a heavy gold one, then back at Lily. "Well, Lily Mae, I reckon it's about time I let you go back to your day, but it's been a real pleasure meeting you." He offered his hand again, and this time Lily didn't hesitate. She placed her small hand in his, a full, joyful smile on her face. This wasn't just a dropped ice cream anymore. It was an adventure, an unexpected magical meeting with a real-life king. And Lily knew, deep in her 7-year-old heart, that she would never ever forget it. The warmth of Elvis's hand lingered in Lily's. She could still feel the faint tremor of his strong fingers, a gentle reminder that this unbelievable moment was actually real. As he pulled his hand back, he leaned forward just slightly, his eyes holding hers. "That's what makes you a champion, you hear?" Lily nodded, slowly absorbing his words. She hadn't thought of herself as a champion before, but the way Elvis said it, with that serious yet gentle look in his eyes, made her believe it. "And another secret," he continued, lowering his voice even more as if sharing the most profound wisdom. "Sometimes the simplest things bring the most joy, like a scoop of ice cream on a hot day, or a good conversation with a new friend." He gave her a warm, genuine smile. Eleanor, sitting beside Lily, watched the interaction with a lump in her throat. She saw not the famous superstar, but a genuinely kind man taking the time to truly connect with her daughter, to offer more than just a replacement treat. He was offering a lesson, a moment of pure, unadulterated human kindness. Eleanor began, her voice soft. "You have no idea how much this means to us. Thank you truly." He waved a dismissive hand. "Please, ma'am. The pleasure was all mine. I needed a break from all the hullabaloo. And Lily Mae here provided just the right kind of distraction." He glanced around the bustling parlor, then at the growing crowd outside the window. A faint sigh escaped him, so quick and quiet that only Eleanor might have caught it. It was a sigh that spoke of the constant pressure, the never-ending demands of his life. But then he turned his attention back to Lily, and the weariness seemed to vanish. "So, Lily Mae, since you like to draw, what's your favorite color to draw with?" "Blue," Lily said promptly, looking at his eyes, "like your eyes." Elvis chuckled. A rich, warm sound. "Blue, huh? Well, that's a fine choice. Blue is the color of the sky and the ocean. And sometimes, if you're lucky, a good pair of jeans." He winked. "And of course your very own ice cream rescue hero's eyes." Lily giggled, feeling completely at ease now. She forgot the crowds, the famous name. He was just a nice man telling her funny things. And I'd make that one scoop last as long as I possibly could, savoring every bit, so I understand just how important that ice cream was to you. His words painted a picture for Lily of a young Elvis, just a boy, cherishing a simple treat. It made him feel even more real, less like a figure from a magazine and more like someone she could talk to. "Do you still like ice cream?" Lily asked, curious. Elvis grinned. "Oh, absolutely. I'm a big fan of banana puddings and peanut butter and banana sandwiches too, but a good scoop of vanilla maybe with a little chocolate syrup that still hits the spot." He glanced at his watch again, a subtle signal that his time was truly limited. "Well, Lily Mae," he said, his voice regretful, "I reckon I do have to be heading out soon. Got a show later, and a whole lot of folks waiting to hear some tunes." Lily's face fell, just a tiny bit. She had enjoyed this so much. "But I'll tell you what," Elvis said, as if sensing her disappointment. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small, crisp white napkin. He smoothed it out on the table. "Since you're a talented artist and you chose blue as your favorite color." He then took a pen from his other pocket. On the napkin, with quick, confident strokes, he began to sketch. Lily watched, mesmerized as a simple, instantly recognizable drawing of a little friendly teddy bear with a small bow tie took shape. The lines were fluid, effortless. "There," he said, finishing with a flourish. "A little friend for you to remind you that even when things tumble down, there's always something sweet waiting to be found. And this little fella, he promises to stay put. Just for you, Lily Mae, keep it safe." Lily reached out her fingers, trembling slightly as she picked up the napkin. The drawing was so charming, so personal. It was an instant treasure. "Thank you, Mr. Presley," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you very much." "It was my pleasure, darlings," he said, his eyes warm. He finally pushed himself up from the booth. His movements were fluid, graceful, even in the slightly confined space. He gave a nod to Eleanor. "Ma'am, it was truly a pleasure meeting you both. You have a wonderful daughter." Eleanor stood too. "And you, Mr. Presley, are a truly wonderful man. We won't forget this." Elvis just smiled, a gentle, humble smile that softened his famous features. He nodded to Mrs. Higgins, who was still beaming from behind the counter, then turned and began to walk towards the door. The moment he moved, the hushed awe in the parlor broke, replaced by a flurry of whispers and a renewed buzz of activity, as people scrambled to get a final look. As he reached the door, he paused and looked back at Lily Mae. One last time, he lifted a hand in a small, almost shy wave, and his lips silently mouthed, "Bye, champion." Then he was gone, stepping out into the bright Memphis sun and instantly enveloped by the clamoring crowd that had gathered outside. The sound of excited shouts and camera clicks faded quickly as his black Cadillac pulled away from the curb, disappearing down the street. Lily clutched the napkin with the teddy bear, drawing her heart swelling with a mix of wonder and a quiet, profound joy. This wasn't just a story she'd tell. It was a memory etched forever in her heart. A memory of a kind man, a fallen ice cream, and a moment of pure, unexpected magic. As the black Cadillac, carrying the king of rock and roll, disappeared down the street, an almost audible sigh swept through Mrs. Higgins's Sweet Treats. The sudden, intense energy that had filled the parlor slowly dissipated, replaced by a buzz of excited chatter. Everyone was talking, their voices overlapping, sharing their version of what had just happened. "Did you see that? He was right here. That little girl, she's so lucky. He's even more handsome in person." Eleanor, still standing by the booth, felt a wave of relief wash over her. The intensity of the moment had been surprising, but also incredibly heartwarming. She looked down at Lily, who was still sitting in the booth staring at the napkin in her hands, as if it were a fragile butterfly that might fly away. "Lily Bug," Eleanor said, softly, sliding back into the booth beside her daughter. "Are you all right? That was quite something, wasn't it?" Lily looked up, her blue eyes shining with a pure, unadulterated joy that Eleanor hadn't seen in a long time. Her cheeks were still a little flushed, and a tiny smear of pink ice cream remained near the corner of her mouth. "A sweet souvenir. He called me a champion, Mama," Lily whispered, her voice full of wonder. "And he drew me a teddy bear. Look." She held out the napkin, careful not to wrinkle it. Eleanor carefully took the napkin. The sketch was simple but charming, clearly drawn with a quick, confident hand. It was an Elvis Presley original. "It's beautiful, sweet pea," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You'll have to keep this forever." "I will," Lily promised, her fingers stroking the soft paper. "It's my treasure." Mrs. Higgins, having finally composed herself, walked over to their table. "Lily Mae, dear, are you truly okay? That was quite a scare with your first cone, but I must say you handled it with such grace." She beamed at Eleanor. "And Mr. Presley, what a truly kind man. I've heard stories, of course, but to see him so genuine, so caring with a child, it was just wonderful." "He truly was," Eleanor agreed, thinking of the quiet weariness she'd seen in his eyes, hidden beneath the charm. He clearly valued these small, real moments. Mrs. Higgins then offered them a fresh glass of water and even a complimentary cookie for Lily. On the house, of course, for the little champion who brightened Mr. Presley's day. As they slowly gathered their things and prepared to leave, Lily clutching her napkin treasure, the chatter in the parlor continued. The story of the dropped ice cream and Elvis's adorable solution was already spreading, morphing slightly with each retelling. It was a feel-good story, a perfect piece of Memphis magic on a hot summer day. Meanwhile, a few blocks away, inside the quiet, climate-controlled comfort of his black Cadillac, Elvis Presley leaned back against the plush leather seats. The immediate roar of the crowd had faded, replaced by the hushed hum of the engine and the soft conversation of his driver and bodyguard in the front. He looked out the tinted window, watching the familiar streets of Memphis pass by. His mind, however, was still back at Mrs. Higgins's, with the little girl named Lily Mae. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, would probably have a fit. For a dropped ice cream cone. "Time is money, Elvis," the Colonel always said. "Every minute you're not on stage or in a recording studio is a minute lost." But Elvis didn't care about the lost minutes. Those moments with Lily Mae, they were worth more than any concert ticket or record sale. He had seen the raw heartbreak in her eyes when her ice cream fell, a pure, uncomplicated sadness. And then he'd seen the absolute, unbridled joy when she received her new one, especially when he'd treated it like an important mission. He found himself smiling faintly. It was rare, so rare, for him to have a completely normal, unscripted interaction with anyone these days. Every fan wanted a piece of him, every handshake was scrutinized, every word he spoke was dissected. But Lily Mae, she hadn't seen Elvis Presley the king. She had just seen a tall, kind man who understood how much a dropped ice cream could hurt. He remembered her shy whisper of strawberry swirl and vanilla, and the way her eyes had lit up when he'd drawn the teddy bear. The genuine giggle when he called himself her ice cream rescue hero. It was a simple, innocent exchange, free of expectations or demands. Closed his eyes for a moment, letting the memory wash over him. In a world of flashing lights, roaring crowds, and constant pressure, that brief interaction with Lily Mae was a moment of quiet, human connection. It was refreshing. A breath of fresh air in the sometimes suffocating bubble of fame. He thought about his own childhood, how much a small treat meant back then. How a simple act of kindness could make a whole day, even a whole week. He hadn't forgotten where he came from, even if some people thought he had. Car slowed as it approached Graceland, his magnificent home. But for a fleeting moment, Elvis wished he could go back to the simple parlor, to that quiet booth, to that little girl with a tear-streaked face and the pure, happy smile. He had given Lily Mae a replacement ice cream, a teddy bear sketch, and a memory. But perhaps, in a way, she had given him something too. Precious reminder of the simple joys, the genuine connections, and the pure, uncomplicated sweetness that life could still offer, even to a king. It was a reminder he found himself needing more and more these days. He leaned forward. "Charlie," he said to his driver, "before we head in, could you swing by a toy store? I've got an idea." When Lily and Eleanor arrived home, the afternoon sun still blazing, the quiet of their small house felt like a gentle hug after the unexpected whirlwind. Lily immediately went to her room, carefully placing the napkin with the teddy bear drawing on her bedside table. Right next to her favorite storybook, it was more precious than any toy. "Mama," she called from her room, her voice bright, "can I keep this forever and ever?" Eleanor, who was still trying to process the surreal encounter, leaned against the doorframe of Lily's room, watching her daughter's joyful expression. "Of course, sweet pea, it's yours. A very special memory." Lily spent the rest of the afternoon reenacting the ice cream rescue with her dolls and stuffed animals, giving her teddy bear, Barnaby, the starring role of Elvis Presley. She narrated the story, adding her own dramatic flourishes, the ice cream tragedy, the appearance of the king, his kind words, and the drawing. Eleanor listened, smiling, every now and then reminding Lily of a detail she might have missed, like the way Elvis had called her a champion. That evening at dinner, Lily recounted the entire story to her father, Thomas. He listened, utterly captivated, his fork halfway to his mouth. Thomas Jenkins was a practical man, a hard-working mill supervisor, not easily impressed by celebrity. But as Lily spoke, her eyes wide with wonder, he saw the genuine impact of the encounter on his daughter. He called her a champion, Dad. Lily exclaimed, wiping a smudge of spaghetti sauce from her chin. "And he drew this for me." She proudly produced a napkin from her pocket, having carried it with her all day. Thomas took the napkin, examining the simple drawing. He wasn't a man given to grand gestures, but he recognized true kindness when he saw it. "Well, I'll be," he murmured, a rare smile spreading across his face. "Elvis Presley, huh? Took time out of his day for our little girl. That's a real class act." That is, he looked at Eleanor. It was a bit, but he was so wonderful with her, Thomas, so genuine. He didn't just buy her another ice cream. He made it feel like an adventure, a personal mission. He seemed lonely, almost like he really needed that simple, real moment, too. The next day, the story of Lily Mae and Elvis spread like wildfire through their small neighborhood. Mrs. Higgins, delighted by the publicity, told every customer. The teenagers who had witnessed it bragged to their friends. Soon whispers turned into full-blown conversations, all about the king's kindness. Lily became a mini-celebrity in her own right, her school friends asking her to retell the story over and over. A few days later, a plain brown package arrived at the Jenkins' doorstep. It had no return address, only their name and address neatly typed on the label. Eleanor picked it up, puzzled. They weren't expecting anything? She took it inside and carefully opened it. Inside, nestled among soft tissue paper, was a brand new fluffy teddy bear. It wasn't just any teddy bear. It was a perfect replica of the one Elvis had sketched on the napkin for Lily. It had soft brown fur, bright, friendly eyes, and a small, perfectly tied blue bow tie around its neck. Attached to the bear's paw with a tiny piece of string was a small card. The handwriting was elegant, distinct, and unmistakably familiar to Eleanor from photographs. To my little champion Lily Mae, from your ice cream rescue hero, keep on shining. Eleanor, keep on shining. Eleanor, keep on. No one else knew about the champion or the ice cream rescue hero nicknames. It was a secret personal message, a final, lasting touch of kindness. She hurried to Lily's room. "Lilybug, come here. Look what came in the mail." Lily bounded out of her room, her eyes wide with curiosity. She looked at the card, then back at the bear, then up at her mother. "Mama," she whispered, her voice filled with awe. "It's him. It's really him." Eleanor nodded, tears pricking her eyes. "It is Sweet Pea, he didn't forget you." Lily carefully took the bear, hugging it tight. It was soft and warm, and it smelled faintly of fresh laundry. She buried her face in its fur, a happy sigh escaping her. This wasn't just a toy, it was a testament to a magical day, a personal connection with someone extraordinary. The teddy bear became Lily's constant companion. She named him Elvis Bear. He sat on her bed, listened to her stories, and became the silent confidant of all her childhood adventures. Every time she looked at him, she remembered the hot Memphis day, the fallen ice cream, the kind voice, the gentle hand, and the smile that had turned her tears into sunshine. For Elvis, miles away, the memory of Lily Mae was also a quiet comfort. He often thought of her, that innocent, genuine connection. In the whirlwind of touring, recording, and endless demands, her pure joy and his simple act of kindness remained a touchstone, a reminder of the real, unadulterated moments that made life truly sweet. The little girl dropping her ice cream had been a tiny moment in his monumental life, but his adorable solution had created a ripple effect, spreading warmth and a touch of magic, not just for Lily, but for the king himself. It was a memory woven into the fabric of both their lives, a heartwarming tale of unexpected kindness that would endure long after the last scoop of ice cream had melted.